Lexi here. I am a Ravenclaw. I took the Pottermore quiz, it's official. If you haven't guessed yet, I'm a Harry Potter fan. Writer notwithstanding. Let's all just assume at this point that Hermione or Luna wrote the books. Anyway, what that means is I'm very good at running into other Harry Potter fans. And one time, and I really do believe this, Harry Potter helped me land a job. Let me explain. This was an interview after a long string of interviews. I'd been looking for a job as an artist for a while by this point. And I had interview fatigue. Every interview felt like it went well in person. I'd send out a thank you email and either never hear back from them again, or I'd be told it was close, but we went with someone else. So I was oddly calm walking into this interview. I was mainly looking forward to going to a bookstore afterwards, as a reward for doing another one of these. Yes, I bribe myself sometimes with just being able to go into a bookstore. Not buy anything, just be able to go into a bookstore. Classic Ravenclaw, right? Right off the bat, this interview started out different from most of the others. I walk into the building lobby and talk to the woman at security. Hi, I'm here to speak with Ruby Road from marketing. The woman wrinkled her nose at marketing, like she had no idea the place had a marketing department. Either that, or she had no idea who Ruby Road was. She tells me to go sit and wait while she finds out who Ruby is, and calls her office. I talked to Ruby on the phone once before the interview. I'm not sure what I pictured when I talked to her on the phone, but I remember being surprised when she walked up to me that day. I noticed two things at the same time. She had a really cool red-dyed pixie haircut, and she was about 8 months pregnant. I don't know which one surprised me more, probably the hair. Ruby led me down to her office, down from the lobby. She worked underground in the basement, which I did not expect. Other than feeling bad this woman had to take so many stairs because of me while she was pregnant, I thought it was weird they had her working in what may as well have been a dungeon of the building. I sat down across from her in her little office. First observation, it was freezing cold, like a dungeon. This interview was in the middle of summer, and I was not prepared for cold. Second observation, Ruby was a Slytherin. There was a big green Slytherin pillow sitting on the empty chair next to me, and a very fancy Slytherin mug sitting on her table. My best friend Sandra is a Slytherin too, so I took this as a good omen. I still say it was a sign of something. No idea if it was meant to be a good sign or just a loud one, looking back. I should have said something about it. I should have pointed it out, but I honestly don't know how to bring that up without sounding like a little kid on a play date, pointing at a toy, like, ooh, you have that one? I have the same one in blue. So I kept it to myself, embarrassed. This interview was for a graphic design job. Or so I thought. I have a lot of stories just on that, but that's for another time. So before I came in, I was supposed to design a poster for her and bring it to her on a flash drive to prove that I know what I'm doing. Pretty standard. I've done that plenty of times in interviews. I take the flash drive out of my purse, and I hand it to her, and she freezes, looking at her laptop. She had one of those new laptops that don't take flash drives. Next thing I know, I'm left alone in her office while she tries to find another computer someplace that she can use to actually see what's on my flash drive. I sit there awkwardly, alone, worried someone outside might walk in wondering why a strange girl was sitting in Ruby's office, looking guilty. It must have been around 10 minutes before I wondered if it was okay to take out my drawing pad. I felt weird about taking out my phone. It was like this was some sort of test to see if I'd be a good worker. I know it wasn't intentionally that, but that's what it felt like. To see if I can be left alone without doing something wrong, maybe? Or like that marshmallow test people give to kids to see if they can not eat the marshmallow for 10 minutes and then they get a second marshmallow if they don't. Eventually I take out my drawing pad, and I start to sketch Ruby's Slytherin mug. I nearly toss the drawing across the room when she bolts back into her office. I don't know why. I don't think many people would have been mad if I drew their mug. a little confused, maybe, but what I think she'd accuse me of, stealing its essence by drawing it? Ruby sits down at her desk, like nothing out of the ordinary happened, and started talking about my poster. But didn't print it out or anything, so I had to talk about my poster without looking at it. That sounds a lot easier than it is. The more I talk about it, the more I have a hard time liking the image in my head. Artists tend to be very self-critical creatures, and it's a lot worse when I'm not actually looking at my work. I was just trying to explain why I used red and yellow, and I was thinking, now that I'm talking about this, it just sounds like McDonald's. Oh no. Mercifully, we move on from that, and she pulls up my art portfolio online from my resume. I took a sigh of relief. Work I could actually point to and explain sounded like a relief after what I just talked about. At first. Until she sees the characters and the artwork and my work from the last several years, points to it, and asks me, "Is that your hobby?" She said it nicely. It wasn't meant to be insulting, but man, did that cut deep. I am so happy I didn't say this out loud. But my honest answer was, I hope not. I didn't do 6 years of art college for that to be my hobby. It would be a very expensive hobby at that point. After probably a very visible flinch, I tried to twist together an answer that would make both of us happy, at least slightly happy, at the same time. That is the kind of art that I do a lot of the time, but I also really love graphic design, just as much. I didn't want to give her a yes or no. It felt like bad karma on behalf of my art, because my goal is to make art my career. Obviously not at this particular job, and I was fine with that. I didn't expect that from this job. We moved on from there like most interviews, going down the line of everything on my resume, detailing all of my art programs that I know, which was mostly a who's who of Adobe Art Cloud programs, all listed in a row. I probably only need 1 or 2 of this, but I think she liked that I knew more. At some point, she told me there would be some writing involved in the job. I stupidly spoke up about how I love writing, that I'm in the middle of writing a novel. That piqued her interest. I saw it, and normally I'd love to get into that, but I crossed the line just by bringing it up. I didn't even mean to say it, it just jumped out. I sputtered out something incoherent, some gibberish about how it's a fantasy story. My eyes dart to Slytherin Pillow, thinking that probably is okay, she likes fantasy. And it's about a shapeshifter who lost their original memories, so they need to find themselves. Oh, but I do understand that it's not that kind of writing that you meant. I like social media too. That was either going very well or very badly. It's really hard to tell, sitting there, freezing cold, looking at my art hobby on her computer screen, and talking about the novel I was working on that I really had no intention of telling anyone about yet. The next day I wrote up a thank you email. Most of the email was pretty normal. I used a few callbacks that we talked about, didn't bring up my hobby or my novel, but I had plenty of better things to bring up. Boring things mostly. I was about to hit send when I decided I had to bring up the Slytherin stuff somehow. It was too perfect not to. P.S. I saw you're a Slytherin. I'm a Ravenclaw personally, but my best friend's Slytherin too. I got a call a couple weeks later that I got the job. Again, I felt like a little kid. I actually said, with the most embarrassing amount of enthusiasm, "Really?" I had a feeling that PS had something to do with it. I think it was my second day on the job when Ruby showed me a photo on her phone of herself wearing an official Slytherin robe at Universal. "That's where I got the mug and the pillow," she said, with a smile. So yeah, I think it had something to do with it. Magic. And that's how I got my graphic design job at the center. And it was the start of an era. Okay guys, so I plan to do a lot more just on the center itself. It could be its own mini-series, or not so many. Lots and lots of center stories coming up. And if you like this, let me know. There's plenty more to come. Okay guys, so this is my second video. I'm still not used to the whole outro thing. Give me a like so the algorithm knows you like me. Subscribe so I know you want to stay. I'll see you next time. Bye guys.